Out of all of the books that I've read, which I've read a few dozen, there's been two that absolutely changed my life, and that is the Bible, and then this book called I Don't Want to Grow Up by Stillman. I want to share with you something, this idea of how I am living my life. It's different than most people, and I don't even think most people think about it, much less actually live it out and apply it to their life. So I'm excited to share it with you because it's against the grain mindset, and it's kind of more of an idea that I am studying and interested to see what y'all think about it, because it's a very fascinating one. And I don't know if there is a specific answer, but it's fun to dive into. I'll start it off in the beginning. Genesis 1:26. Then God said, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground." The Lord God took the man that he created and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and to take care of it. From the beginning, it's clear that we should be the top of the food chain. Like, we should rule over the earth. And it makes me think of a way that God intended us to live. If you think back to, I guess, as far back as you possibly can, I like to imagine Adam's life and how that looked like. He was kind of just going around the earth, enjoying God's creation, spending time with God in the Garden of Eden, and just enjoying life until we all know the fall. Genesis 3:17, to Adam he said, "Because you listened to your wife and ate the fruit from the tree about which I commanded you that you must not eat from, cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil you'll eat the food from it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow you will eat your food, until you return to the ground, since from it you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you will return." If you're anything like me, you're an observer in life, and you don't just blindly do what you're told or follow the grain of what everybody else is doing. And you really ask yourself, is this what I want to be doing? And you've thought a lot about just life and like, why are we here? And what do you want out of life? So whenever I observe this way of living, it's a life of complete freedom. And it's cool to think that that's the way that God intended it, for us to essentially have heaven on earth and to live a life that's even better than all the animals. And while, yes, toil is unavoidable, as it says, "Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil, you'll eat fruit from it all the days of your life." I wonder if we as humans have gone so far off the deep end that there still is a bit of freedom that we can experience in our life. And I am living proof of it. I don't want you to get the wrong idea that I'm trying to say I'm better than somebody else or something like that, but I've spent a lot of time thinking and asking what I want out of life. And if you live intentionally, there's no rules that you necessarily have to follow that everybody says you have to follow. You don't have to go to college and get a good job. You don't have to work 40 plus hours a week. You don't have to work for 50 years of your life and then hopefully one day you retire if you make it there. And that's just a tip of the iceberg of this idea and this mindset. So I feel like for the most part, those of you who agree with this mindset are still watching. And if you don't, you probably already clicked off this video. My belief is that every single day we trade our freedom for security. From the first time that we go to school, we are almost conditioned in a way to get used to the life of wake up in the morning, go do something all day that you probably don't even enjoy, and then go home, eat, sleep, wake up, and repeat. And so many people get lost in this way of living that they wake up and they're 70 years old and they don't even realize it, that they spent their entire life doing this thing of waking up, going to work, getting home, stressed out, rushing throughout life, constantly not living in the moment or having this freedom that is spoken of in the Bible. And I know this to be true because Literally on my YouTube videos, there's people in their 60s and 70s that are saying, I can't believe that you're, in your 20s and you figured it out already. Like, that's a blessing because I've spent my entire life working my life away, just being a slave to the machine. And I didn't wake up until it was too late. Now, I want to read you something from the book, I Don't Want to Grow Up. And it references the animals and it talks about the squirrels and it ties a parallel between humans and the animals. So if it sounds like I'm going off the deep end and I need help, I don't blame you. It's kind of a wild thing to hear for the first time, but I just really encourage you to open your mind and just hear me out and try to tie the parallels here. Could a simple life of freedom exist just beyond the boundaries of our comfort zone, outside of society's unwritten rules? We are capable of rewriting the play. It just takes a little intention. The question remains the same. What do you want your life to look like? Once you know that, you can begin stripping away all that is not your desire. Finally, when every last layer has been removed, there will be your dream, sparkling like a diamond in the rubble. Still, many will leave their diamonds buried, working, trying to save enough money so that someday they can live their dreams. But I'm here to tell you today that freedom doesn't come from piling up a big heap of money. It comes from stripping away, peeling back, exposing what's buried beneath. Simplify and walk into life unburdened. This is not groundbreaking information. Plenty of people live simple lives. I meet them on the roads of life, fixing cappuccinos on mountaintops, mixing margaritas on the far side of the world, living life their way, moving from place to place on their schedule. What scares them most? Security, the stable place of employment, opportunity for advancement, the private office, the steady paycheck, the benefits package. The mere mention of such things will undoubtedly send them running as far as possible from society's trap. They live the way they do for a reason. It all started with a burning desire, the burning desire to be free. It is normal to crave security, yet by nature, life is insecure. And that's where I talk about in Genesis 3:17, how you're going to toil for your food. Basically, we are cursed because humanity sinned in the beginning. The only thing that we can count on in life is change. So we must become adaptable. There are plenty of times where not growing up sucks. There's a lot of uncertainty. It can be easy to lose focus and get sucked back into the false security of the modern world. Life is unpredictable, especially when you stray from the beaten path. Not growing up takes courage, and not everyone is cut out for it. Besides, as I've said, not everyone can just be roaming around, living in vans, playing in the mountains, deserts, and oceans. As we all know too well, everyone won't. The urge for security is strong. The comforts of houses, cars, climate-controlled offices, steady paychecks are far too resistible for the masses. And I want to add in real quick is that the author also goes into another point where we need those people. We need the doctors, the lawyers, the teachers, the first responders, and all these people are amazing and I am so grateful for them. But if that's not you and you're not wired that way, it doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. And that is what society has told me through my teachers, through my other people in my life who are saying you have to do it this one way. There's no other option. But that's something that I refuse to believe because, as I said, I'm an observer. I looked at people who worked 40 hours a week and they were unhappy. I looked at people who worked their entire life for retirement at the end, and they got to retire for what? Whenever they were fully out of their health and could not even enjoy God's creation and go skiing on mountaintops or travel the world, biking throughout trails in nature, or even going fishing. All because we are sold this life of security through a steady paycheck, and a secure job, all for what? We're promised this. If you work hard enough, one day, maybe one day, you'll be able to retire and truly enjoy life and have happiness. if you get there, if you work hard enough. And moving back to the book, I wrote a note in here and I said, God intended it to be this way from the garden, the opposite of what I described, the life of freedom, where we're not having to do those things that society or the modern world tells us that we have to do. Just as a squirrel prances with joy throughout life, living its best life, simply gathering food, fighting off predators, like the basics of survival. We were created to do life the same and rely on God and spend time in His creation. And it's honestly a mindset. And I really wonder in Matthew 18:3, if that is the secret that God's trying to reveal to us, that I wonder if Jesus used these words on purpose to get just the tiny percentage of people who would catch this. Or maybe I'm just a nutcase and I don't know what I'm talking about and I need help. But it says, truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Now, I'm not trying to say that that's not the point of that is not becoming innocent and like ridding your sin. But what if it's talking about the mindset that children have and like how they go through life? They go through life without worry, just as Jesus says not to do in Matthew 6. They go through life just enjoying God's creation. Like literally they have one thing on their mind, the present moment. And while they have downsides to this, I just want you to try to think of it through the purest mind that you can and think about how they go through life, just completely enjoying life, playing, frolicking, like all of that stuff. And this is where the author ties it to the squirrel. If a squirrel was offered an endless supply of nuts in exchange for living in a temperature-controlled box, would he do it? How many of these animals would willingly give up their freedom in exchange for security? My guess is that some would and some wouldn't. The ones who agreed to such terms would undoubtedly enjoy this new life of security for a while. But in time, they become gluttons, gaining weight, becoming obese. We prescribe them drugs made just for squirrels, protecting them from things like high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes. When they become depressed, we'll provide them with entertainment, give them flat screen TVs with streaming videos of forests and open hillsides with squirrels running about freely. This would work for a while, but eventually they become addicted to these videos. Then we'd administer anxiety medication to numb their feelings. In their numbed state, they dream of a heaven, a utopia, a place far, far away, of boundless freedom where all the squirrels run free. A paradise found only when you die. Eventually, the squirrel would die, lonely and afraid, dreaming of the freedom that I believe God intended for us from the beginning. And that was my little note added in there. But freedom doesn't only exist in heaven. Freedom can be found on earth right now. What if it all lies in your perspective and in your mindset? Freedom existed long before the boxes, the drugs, the false security. You've only got to set yourself free, leave your cage, and bound off into the wild blue yonder, the place where we all belong. The place where dreams come true. And here the author actually references Eden, so it's kind of cool. I can't help but think that when we dream of Eden, this utopia of freedom, we're actually remembering the way that things were before we boxed ourselves in. Somewhere along the line, we ate the forbidden fruit, chose security over freedom, and willfully enslaved ourselves to the great machine. In doing so, we gave up our basic freedoms to roam and frolic in the Garden of Eden. There is a price to pay for security, a hefty price indeed. When we succumb to the temptations of our modern world, we sell our very own souls, all for the false comfort that society provides. On a planet that willfully provides everything that we need in abundance, God provides every little thing from the earth or gives it to you in abundance. Have we been the ones that have been duped? forgetting that it is we who are the experiment, not the squirrels. Now, it may be a little too late to go bounding off into the forest with nothing but our birthday suits, but there certainly must exist a hybrid sort of living. If we cannot escape reality of the modern world completely, perhaps we can still live freely with one foot dipped in society and the other planted in Eden. Maybe it doesn't have to be all or nothing. And that's kind of where I get my perspective from, because maybe I don't want to be the crazy person living in a van, traveling throughout the country. I want some of the things that the modern lifestyle has to offer. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that as long as you're doing it intentionally, not going in blindfolded by the false promises of this world. Because you can have a house, an amazing wife, kids, and a steady job, but still have this mindset of true freedom and understanding that your life does not consist of wake up early, rush off to work, finally get home tired, exhausted, eat, sleep, and repeat. Going through that mundane lifestyle every single day until you wake up on your deathbed with nothing but regret. The truth is, we cannot have society without wilderness. No more than we can have the chicken without the egg. They go together, like black and white, good and bad, left and right political thinking. We can't have one without the other because they're two sides of the same coin. So the author likes to tie a lot back to nature, and I like to think of it too because I like to think of the way that God intended things. Spend time with him and his creation. What better life is that? So my desire is to live a life that lives that hybrid lifestyle, enjoying things of the modern world, but also just this radical relying on God in complete freedom of enjoying his creation on a Friday at noon right now, instead of being in an office where I'm going to be wasting my whole life away with the goal of me constantly chasing and climbing the ladder and everything like that. Yet I'm out here. And this is not to somehow rub it in your face, but I am here to tell you that this life is possible. And although it seems like all butterflies and rainbows, like it's not easy to achieve something like this. And I'm still in the process of it. I've not achieved this dream lifestyle and here to sell it to you or anything like that. I'm just here to open your mind and hopefully allow you to be open to this new perspective of freedom in life. Not what the world says that sells you the freedom whenever you're too old to even enjoy it and you have 5 years left to your name because all you did was work your life away. I love how Jesus spoke of the birds in the air whenever he was telling us not to worry in Matthew 6. Because it kind of ties back to nature, kind of how like the book was saying. And it's a very cool thing for me to go back to. It says, Matthew 6:25, do not worry. Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Kind of tying back to the squirrels too. They don't sow or reap. They don't clock in and work their entire life just to be able to finally get an endless supply of nuts at the end of their life. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any one of you by worrying add a single hour to your life? And why do you worry about clothes? See how the flowers of the field grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you, not even Solomon in all of his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and gone tomorrow, will he not much more clothe you, you of little faith? So don't worry what you're going to eat or what you're going to drink or what shall we wear. For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that they need them, that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. We get so caught up in life in figuring out how to, I guess it's really just getting caught up in life in general. Psalm 127 describes it perfectly. In vain, you rise up early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat. For God grants sleep to those that he loves. And I like to think of it as sleep as like rest and just that weight taken off of your shoulder. And I don't know, maybe this is why I said, this is my opinion. This is how I take this. So maybe dive into it for yourself. But it's just like that glimpse of freedom. What if God is meaning, you have little faith, you humans, you work so hard every day instead of relying on God to provide that thing that you're longing for, that fulfillment that you're looking for in life, that the world promises that you can find in working away and achieving certain things in life. But I'm here to tell you that through my study and through my own life experiences and observing plenty of people, life does not have the answer that you're looking for. This world doesn't have the answer. You're never going to be fulfilled if you continue to try to fill that void in your heart with things of this world. That void can only be found through Jesus Christ. This last point that I want to make is words from Oliver Anthony in his song, Hell on Earth. It's a funny thing for me to say because the title of this video was Heaven on Earth. It opens up by saying, son, do you know where you're going to go when you die? Well, I've been asked that 100,000 times, and I wasn't sure, but I asked around, and I found out that most people die and go to hell before they ever hit the ground. Because they wake up early, and they still run late. They curse every man, woman, and child on the interstate. You clock in, and you clock out, and you drive back home. Son, how are you going to find a paradise in the sky if you ain't found the one that you're on? So many people are tired of waking up early, still running late, rushing through life, going through the monotonous work, grind your life away lifestyle. And I think more and more people are waking up to the truth. And if I can help you do that through this video or through my channel, that's exactly what I want you to do. And ultimately, live a life that God intended us to live through Jesus Christ. I really do appreciate you for watching this video all the way to the end. If you made it here, leave a comment. Let me know what stuck out to you or how something I said, maybe you thought in a different way than before. And to the young men out there, if you feel this way, we have a Discord community of young men who are all pursuing Christ. And a lot of them think the same way that I do. So if you're interested in that, that'll be in the description. But that's all I have for today's video. If you're interested in topics like these, feel free to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. God bless.